Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you've tuned into the #1 undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown. Now, your heavy-handed, hard-hitting host, Mark Roxey.
What's up? What's going on, Harold?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. What's up, everybody? And welcome to another episode of the Boxing Breakdown, live on YouTube and streaming on all the podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it. Wherever you get your podcast, you can check out the broadcast, share it with friends. We appreciate any shares. Thank you very much for listening in today. And we're delighted to be here. And Harold and I are going to talk about this weekend's festivities. There was tons and tons of boxing this weekend. And while we can't cover all the exciting events that took place, because that would be about an hour, 2-hour podcast, we are going to talk a little bit about two fights that Harold has on his mind. So Harold, what you got, man?
Well, the Ruiz fight was a great fight. It was, as it goes, old dog got some new tricks. And I was glad to see that. That's got to be really great for, the older fighters who know that they can actually go somewhere and get worked with and actually change their style, because he actually did so. He was forced to, but he did resort to his training, which has only been, a few months. I don't know how long he's been in Arreola, but he actually implemented it, and he went on to win the fight by using that technique. So I am very impressed with that.
Yeah, man. I mean, he faced a very, very rugged Christopher Arreola, man, right? And that was not as easy as they thought it was going to be. I mean, I think that Team Ruiz thought it was going to be a little easier than it was. What do you think about that?
Well, Joe Goosen had a great game plan for Arreola to win that fight. He got him down to a good weight. He kept the distance. He did what he was supposed to do, but he was unable to because of his age or his whatever. He just couldn't pull it off. But the plan was there. I mean, I could see it. He just couldn't continue to execute it. So I got to give Goosen a lot of love and Arreola for doing the best he could. His body was just like, well, I can do it so long. But the age precluded him from continuing to apply that game plan.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think that, Ruiz is, he's just young and hungry. And man, what about the weight loss, Harold? Talk to me about the weight loss. How is that? I mean, my impression when I saw the before and after photos, man, I was like, yo, he's that's a transformation for sure.
I agree with that. However, that weight loss did slow down his punch resistance, because he went down in the second round, but he was rocked a lot. He kept almost going down to his knee about 3 or 4 times during that fight. And previously, when he had that weight on, he didn't get rocked or moved around like that. Even Lennox, after he got up and started rocking Lennox did hit him with some good shots, and he didn't rock at all. So I don't know if the weight loss helped him lose some of his punch resistance, or was Arreola that heavy-handed? I don't know which. We have to see what it looks like going forward. But visually, yes, that weight loss was really something to see. I mean, he really did not have anything hanging over the belt. And he looked really great. I mean, he was still pretty light on his feet. It was great.
Yeah, man, his hand speed was pretty fast. So you could see some of the advantages that he had going into the fight. But I agree with you. I think that when you cut that kind of weight and you're used to being the bigger guy in the ring, walking through shots, shelling up, getting to the mark, being able to deliver your shots and know that you're not going to really be moved. I think you're right. I think that should be something that they at least explore and really talk a little bit about as a team as to whether or not, he should be as a heavyweight a little bit heavier. I mean, they can still, shape the muscle and really make sure that the muscle is nice and dense. But I definitely think they should consider taking a look at that, because I agree. I think some of those shots, like the straight right hand that landed on the jaw, kind of put him down in the first round, and that was clear that the Arreola was really connecting and doing doing good work. And I just hats off to Chris Arreola, because their plan was working. They were doing a good job in the fight. It wasn't that they didn't do a good job in the fight. So I was thinking that might have ignited a spark in some of the fans and some promoters that there's more to Chris Arreola at this point as well.
True. You have to give Arreola credit also. He came in at the lowest weight he has ever. It was second time, I think, but he was in great shape. He wasn't hanging over his belt either, and he looked really good. So both of those fighters came in great shape. So Arreola should get another job. He really should. He should be called to fight going forward, because I really thought he did really well. Now, some of the judges only gave him 1 or 2 rounds, which was, what they saw, and I respect what they saw being a judge myself.
Right.
So he was kind of upset about that. So I can't really speak to that, but I know that as what I saw, he made a great account of himself, and I thought he threw a lot of punches, and I thought the fight was good for the fans. It was good to see where Ruiz was. It's good to see where he was. And I think it really showed the trainer's acumen. I really think so, because, like I said before, Ruiz ended up doing some work that Reynoso implemented, and Goossen had Arreola doing what he needed to do. So not only were the fighters fighting, boxing, competing, but the trainers were also.
Yes, that's right. They were competing. That's right. And it was wonderful. It was really wonderful to see. So let's talk about you as a judge. Let's just chop that up for a second, Harold. Let's break it down a little. Did you score the fight, unofficially?
No.
Okay.
And the reason I didn't do that is because when you have your judge face on, it's a whole different thought process. You're not looking for the nuances of trainer. You're not looking for their strategy. You're just looking for who won each round. Okay? So in my mind's eye, I was a fan. Now, overall, yes, I did judge it, not 10-9, 10-9, writing it down. I didn't do any of that.
Right.
Okay? Because I look at it as a fan from this point, because I work a lot. So when I get a chance to enjoy it, I do so. But my mind always goes to who I think won. So, right. Yes, Ruiz won. How many rounds he won, I'm not going to say, because I didn't really denote it as such. But I know that after the knockdown, he went to boxing, and he won quite a few rounds with that technique.
Right. So the adjustment, so you definitely noticed the adjustment that he made.
Yeah. After the knockdown, he knew he needed to resort to something. And usually he would not necessarily have that, but he had that. He was able to use that, and it was clear where it came from.
Right. I agree. So, let's talk about from the standpoint of who would you want to see Arreola fight? I mean, if Arreola could fight, who's in the frame for Arreola?
Well, you got the political divide, but Chisora would be a great fight. Dylan White would be a great fight. Parker, who Chisora just fought, would be a great fight because these guys are going to stand in the pocket and they're going to throw. Arreola is not going to go down. He's not going to go down.
Right.
So he's going to keep throwing. So him, the other two gentlemen that I mentioned, those would be some great fights. I mean, that would be some great fights.
Right.
Arreola's proved that he can be a fan favorite, and that would be a good fight. And a couple of those fights, I think he has a chance to win.
Right.
And he could win.
No, for sure. You can never count Chris Arreola out, man. I think that is a mistake because, if he's got it in his heart and in his mind that he can continue to train at the level that he's training at and do the work with Goosen that he's doing, I definitely think that there's big things on the horizon for him. I definitely was impressed, and I was impressed with Andy Ruiz as well. I mean, they both were just impressive in the fight, and I think it was good for fans. The only thing that I want your opinion on this. Do you think it really was worthy of a pay-per-view, or was that just like, hey, that should be boxing? That should be on what was your feeling on that?
Well, the residual of his thing with the champion when he lost the belt and he gave it back because that kind of fame and money just drops on you like that. It's hard to handle that.
Yeah, for sure.
He didn't train, what have you. So the public was still enamored with, man, look what he did to Lennox. But now look how he's just super overweight. We want to see really what he did. And they want to see if that could carry over and carry a pay-per-view. That's the only reason I can see that. Because it was such a drastic change from the loss, the win and the loss, and how he lost. So, and coupled with going to Canelo's camp, all that could work its way into a pay-per-view, which it did. I don't know what the numbers were, but it was palatable as a pay-per-view. It really was. Just barely, in my opinion, but it did do okay from what I can tell thus far. Right.
Well, tomorrow we're going to find out. Monday, water cooler talk is going to be about what those pay-per-view numbers did. So I'm very, very intrigued to know. I can't wait to hear how they did in the box office, because that, of course, is important. And so more to come on these two guys, man. So that's fantastic fight. Really good for boxing. Great job. Hats off to everybody who had a role in making that fight happen. And then, another fight that took place earlier on in the card. I know. So why don't you deliver the goods for the earlier fight?
Well, the fight that caught my eye just quickly was a Lara fight against Flake, which is one of your guys that you know very well, and you've done a podcast with him.
I've had Thomas Cornflake Lamanna on the program, on the Boxing Breakdown, I think 2 times, maybe even 3 times, 2 times, definitely. If you go back, if you guys are subscribing to the podcast, just go back and look at previous episodes. You'll be able to listen to the podcast with Thomas Cornflake Lamanna and follow what he's been up to. He's an amazing guy, and really, he's into promoting. He's got a promotion company, Rising Star Promotion. So he's into a lot of businesses. He's got a lot of things going on in his life. And man, he had this wonderful, wonderful opportunity. And I would just want to preface this conversation by saying that hats off to Thomas Cornflake Lamanna. Much respect for being able to get to a position to fight one of the best fighters in the division, if not the best fighter in the division, arguably, and someone who's just really, has a place in boxing history, Erislandy Lara. And that is an accomplishment in itself, to be able to get to the place where you can have a fight like that. I always say, man, it's better to come up a little short in a competition like that than to never have had the opportunity or never have competed. So, much respect to all the fighters that get up there and put their lives on the line for the fans, really, right? For the fans. And yes, we make a living and the fighters make a living doing this, but at the end of the day, you gotta take your hat off to a guy who's willing to step up at the biggest stage and face a guy like Erislandy Lara. That being said, it didn't work out for Thomas Cornflake Lamanna the way that he had hoped it would work out, and my condolences for that. But what was your impression?
Well, you preferenced his accomplishments. Not many fighters are doing what he's doing as far as the promotion thing. I believe he has another business also. He's really young. He was able to put himself in a position to get this fight, right? And he did quite a bit to sell the fight. He's an articulate guy, all of that. But we've got to talk about the fight.
That's right.
The fight itself, as they say in the vernacular, there's levels to this thing.
Yes.
And the level that he was on was a different level than Lara. And to the trained eye, which you have, I would like to think I have, the level was obvious in the very first 10 seconds or so. I was able to see it was what it was.
Yeah.
It was a simple situation. For Lara, he saw it immediately. He saw what he was going to do. Immediately. It was like the light bulb went off. And he just took his time and waited for that opportunity to arrive. Now, he got hit, and he did a simple thing that you just don't do. You don't extend your arms when you're trying to block anything. And if you're put in a position where you end up doing that, you leave yourself with hands in your pockets.
Yeah, that's a fundamental, basic mistake.
Yes, but it wasn't that he didn't know how to not get in that position, nor he hadn't been trained not to do that. He was coerced into that by the feints and the movement of Lara. He knew how to get him out of that trained, understood position and make himself vulnerable.
Yeah. And for the listeners, Harold, not to cut you off, but for the listeners who are listening in on the podcast that are not actually watching the podcast, what Harold was speaking about was the fact that Erislandy Lara feinted through a straight. He was throwing his jab right down the pike, throwing the 1-2 right down the pike, and what he did is once he got Thomas Lamanna closing up his guard for the 1-2, he came around the corner with the shot and landed the shot around the corner of the gloves, and that's what put Thomas Cornflake Lamanna down with a surprising punch. But Thomas Lamanna actually reached out with both arms, leaving his entire torso, shoulders, and head completely exposed for a perfectly placed, precision landed punch. So that's what we're talking about.
Yes, absolutely. And it was well placed. You could see it coming. He went right around, as you said. Floyd Mayweather, who I reference somewhat regularly, has the same type around the guard type left hook, if you will.
Yeah.
Lara was able to crouch down low. It came low and ended up high.
Yeah.
So it was well. I mean, the torque was in there. The foot, it was all there. I mean, and it was early in the fight. He was strong. He was fresh, mentally, physically. It came and it delivered and it changed the fight.
Yeah, man. And you know what?
Now, I will say, his head did bounce off the canvas, which
Yeah.
did help with the stoppage. Now, if he had been hit and he fell and he was able to hold his head up from hitting the back of his head from hitting the canvas, he may have gotten up and been able to continue. But the initial punch was heavy, but the hitting of the back of the head on the canvas helped.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point that you bring up, because and so as an official, we know, and you know, that when a fighter is out before he hits the ground and his head bounces off the canvas, that's it. That's not going to continue. So when you see that kind of a concussion, where he's out before he even touches the ground, 9.5 out of 10 times, that's going to be an automatic stoppage. There are rare cases, and I'll cite one. Okay. I will cite the Tyson Fury fight with Deontay Wilder, where he was out on his feet on the way down. His head bounced off the canvas. The ref is counting. His eyes roll in the back of his head. He snaps back and sits back. Like he actually rises up like as if he's possessed. And he beats the count and he's back in the fight. That is a once in a lifetime opportunity, my friends. I don't think I've ever seen that, Harold. I mean, that's the one time I've seen that happen.
I agree with that. The only other time I could say was someone was knocked out cleanly, but the ropes, they fell on the ropes. Their head did not hit the canvas to add a concussion. And they were able to kind of stagger up a little bit, but they were out. But when they hit the rope, they kind of woke up.
Right.
Had they fallen and hit the head too. But this way, they were out, they hit the rope, and they was able to kind of continue, but it ended. But rather better that than hitting your head on the back of the canvas. But yes, yeah. The Tyson Fury rise from the dead, the Undertaker type of whatever happened, that was for the ages. That's true.
Well, Harold, man, it's always a pleasure to chop it up with you on the Boxing Breakdown. I want to thank you for being on the program. Thank you for being with me, man, on Sunday night. We just rip it on a Sunday night, man. There's nothing better than getting together with you and chopping up some boxing. Please, everyone out there, go and listen to some of the previous episodes. Tomorrow night, we will be having our good friend Teofimo Lopez Sr. on the broadcast, provided that he is completely functional and ready to go tomorrow. We'll be very, very excited to have him on the program. We've got a lot of things to talk about with Teofimo Lopez Sr. And I just can't wait, man. I can't wait to do it.
It's going to be good.
Okay, and then with that, I'd like to thank you all for being with us. Peace and love, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Boxing Breakdown is out.
Fight fans, join host Mark Roxey and special guests as they break down all aspects of the boxing world, including news, business, management, training, promotions, fan reactions, upcoming events, matchups, future boxing stars, title fights, state of the boxing world, and all the stuff you don't see when you watch boxing. This podcast is released each week on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live streamed on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook Live. It's the Boxing Breakdown, hosted by Mark Roxey.